Hey,
Wow, Rome made it right at the nick of time right there. So, welcome to another episode of Straight Out of Politics. I'm your host, Compton J. I'm joined with my regular weekly host, Liv. How are you doing, Liv?
I'm doing so great. I'm so excited. Like I just said right before we went live, this is such a big day. We have a big family with us today. I'm so happy.
Absolutely. And of course, everyone who watched the episode last week saw the Bank sisters here, and Keisha and Courtney are back again for this episode. How are you ladies doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty great. We worked out earlier, so we're feeling loose. Right?
Yeah, after a workout, you always feel kind of you have superpowers. I know
Yeah.
the feeling. And Rome, fellow RBN member, what's up, my brother? How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Just feeling good to be back home for a minute. Hold on, what is today's date? Damn, I'll be out there in Compton in a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
you're gonna be out here in like 2 weeks, a little bit over 2 weeks.
Yep,
The 19th, what 17th you drop in, 17th or 18th you drop in, so like 2 weeks, a little more. So that's another thing. So like it's really gonna be busy the next couple weeks. And are you out in California? You still in California, ladies, or no?
Oh no,
You're not. Oh, okay.
We're Virginia
'Cause I
now,
was
yeah.
gonna-
But
gonna
I
say,
will be in LA in next week, so we might have to talk. So
All right, absolutely. That's what I was gonna, because Rome come down. We got to get all the LA people. I think Pat is out here. Who else? There's a bunch of California people that's out here.
Somebody called me Fee. That gotta be somebody in my family.
Somebody in the feed. They called you that in the comments.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's
then that's somebody that got to know you.
Yeah.
That got to know somebody from the D that knows you. So the main topic today is why the media demonizes black men. It was an article, an opinion piece I saw, and then I that's this author or this person who wrote this article. I looked him up on YouTube, and he has some videos out about this article he was on. We talked about this last week, ladies. Black News. I can't remember the official name. I think it's BCN or something like that.
Black News Channel.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so he was on there. I caught him on there interviewing, talking about this article. I thought it was very, very interesting because it kind of ties into some ideas I had already been thinking about. Like I've been thinking of. It feels like black men kind of been left behind in the struggle for progress. And when I say left behind, I don't mean like people aren't trying to help them, but it's like it feels like maybe 20 years ago there was a separation where black women continue to progress and black men slowed. And I believe it's because of the attack on the black male. Hasn't been harsher, it's just been different. Like the mass incarceration, for example, has impacted males more. So there's been a different attack, perhaps an attack that black men have not been able to overcome. So it's causing a separation. You see it in black male female relationships, while you have the dating disparity, where black women, college educated, finding it a hard time to find a mate. This all ties into that. So I thought, because I'm already have that in my head, I saw this article and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Everything in the opinion piece I don't agree with, but there are some points I do want to touch upon. So that's the main topic. But before that, we'll of course talk about Whoopi Goldberg. We'll talk about whether it's good or not to have a black woman on the Supreme Court if it's a Democrat appointee. Like, does it make a difference whether she's black or not? And then kind of briefly talk about California Dems abandoning the Medicare for All fight. I think it's our opportunity for leftists like us to bring it to those disaffected progressives who are still in the Democratic Party to say, hey, California is all Democrats. It's super on top of super majority. Like whatever they want to do, they could do. Republicans can say whatever they want. Like literally, we could have $25 minimum wage if all the Democrats wanted it. We could have Medicare for all. We could have all of that, the things that the Democrats nationally signaled that they want. So we'll cover that. So maybe since that seems like a topic that I seem to have a little more detail on, let's start with that one then. California Democrats abandon Medicare for all. Have any of you heard about this this story?
I heard a little bit about it. I just heard about it on Instagram from some politicians that I followed in California. I feel like they also seemed very shocked that it didn't get further than it got.
That it did or it did not get further.
But it did not get further.
Yeah, because it seemed like it was a slam dunk. So I'll kind of briefly, I'll bring up the story too and put it and share my screen, but I'll kind of briefly just describe it. You know how these bills are in committees and they have to be voted out committees before they go to the full vote. So it got voted out committee, which was a big thing. Like, wow, it's out of the committee. There's no excuses. The California Senate has already approved this. They voted yes. There's no more excuses. If it was voted yes on, if the Democrats voted yes, the governor could have signed it and we would literally have Medicare for all in California. It was that close. So, Democrats claiming they're for Medicare for all, even the governor claiming when he was running, there's a lot of footage of him claiming he was for Medicare for all in the beginning when he was running for governor. Now somehow is a different story. And they simply refuse to put the bill on the floor as to not expose all the Democrats that would vote against it. So basically they took the cowardly way out. They didn't even put it on the floor. Now, I guess there's something in the House, the Assembly, I think they call it in California, where that bill had to have been put on the floor by the 31st of January, or it can't be put on the floor the rest of this year. How absurd is that? That's democracy.
What kind of dumb
that
rules
you have
like
really
that?
Ridiculous rules like that.
It's the same thing with like signing up. Like, if you don't sign up for your healthcare by the proper date, then you're
right
here. Like what?
Right. What if you in a hospital when you're open enrollment and you can't do it? Like, there's so many different things. But so that's the gist of the story. But Rome, what do you think? So this is your opportunity. You out in the field. You know what I mean? Like, just imagine this. You're out in the field. You're doing a tour for the poor in California. You're about to hit California. This is your opportunity. California Democrats, you just voted down this thing that is like one of the number one issues, especially for the Black community and entirely for the leftist community. This is a big issue. They just voted it down. Now you're a communist. Like, what do you think of what the Democrats did, and what do you think we should be doing as a communist, and what do you want to do when you get here in Compton now that you hear this about the Democrats voting this down in California?
I mean, of course I'm going to rub this in people's faces. Like, I don't have the best healthcare. I get insurance just like everybody else, but this is what you get for cosplaying as a socialist. This is what you get, and this is what you always would get. We have been going through this for generations now. Stop riding the fence. Stop playing nice with these people who are in the pockets of billionaires, corporations, etc., etc. Nobody you are voting for is going to change any damn thing. These people won't even be around that type of power if they wouldn't play some type of game or they owe some type of favor to somebody anyway. Stop cosplaying and just get to doing what we should be doing and using this little time that we have right now to fight and make real change throughout your community locally. You can build, your own clinics and whatnot. I know a lot of nurses that live in the hood that, would love to work and do something for a change in their community. We can start like that, whatever the hell it is. But this is what you guys get. Stop playing nice. If you really want to help there, you're gonna have to die for it.
So you see it as hey, it's needed downfall because you guys need to see that these people are not who they claim to be.
They're going to hold that carrot over your head. Like they have been doing this for generations with everything else. And as soon as something else bad come along, they'll pass this to get it done.
Right.
And then they hang this right over your head. And that's
Right.
why I always say, if you're going to fight it all, fight for it all. Don't fight for this right or healthcare or whatever it is. That's why, I push communism over everything, because I'm fighting for it all. Why not?
Yeah. And I want to make sure when you get here, that's something we need to do. We need to talk politics to these people in these communities. The good thing about the spots I'm going to take you to is that they're like all in one place. They're not like a spread out neighborhood. So they're all projects. So you get what I'm saying? So you can literally walk to dozens, places, dozens of residents. So
if I get in my mood, them niggas gonna hear me.
Yeah, we gotta speak out there. But back to the topic, let's bring Liv into this. You know about it, California. I'm sure. I mean, because you're well on top of like news about healthcare in particular and climate. I know because you've been hosting with me. What do you think about the Democrats doing this in California? What does it say about them? Do you see this as an opportunity for this to radicalize other liberals to wake up out of the Democratic cult? What is your take on all of this?
So admittedly, I am not as up to date on this as I would like to be, because the last few days have been crazy because we just moved into our new home and we're still getting settled. So excited about that, but I have not been up to date on current events. But I just saw Harold Hedge. Distrust all of them, right? They have a D next to their name. I don't trust them to begin with. They're part of the working establishment. I already know where their interests lie, and it's not in serving the people. It's not being public servants. It's being politicians and maintaining their career, and that means making their stakeholders happy, the corporations happy. And they do not want us to have any kind of anything looking like socialized medicine. They don't want us anywhere near that. So I'm absolutely not surprised at all. I know a lot of people work for this though, so that I really hate that it's, like we're back again. I know a lot of work probably went into trying to get this even to be heard, to even be voted on in the first place. But I think I'm not going to speak for the Bank sisters, but I think I know at least that Rome and CJ are like, fuck voting. And the fact that even we're talking about like this legislation process to begin with, like Quaker Socialist was talking to me when I met up with her in Boston. She was talking to me before and during about making healthcare co-ops, and like what Rome was saying, like setting up a clinic in your community, like just go ahead and do that shit. There's people out there who'd be willing to work or get involved, barter trade, do whatever, but be a part of the community and make this happen outside of the system, because frankly, that's the only way it's going to happen. The establishment has made it absolutely clear that that is not in their interests.
Yeah, I just think that, I mean, here in, I think the other state is Virginia. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, where the entire state legislature is all Democratic, meaning the governor's house, the Senate or the assembly or whatever it's called in that other state. It's either Virginia or West. I don't think it's West Virginia. It must be.
We just got a Republican governor.
Oh yeah, it just switched.
Before that,
it just switched. So before that, this is where Youngkin was, right? Oh yeah. Okay. So yes. So before that, Democratic legislator. What type of legislation came out of there? What type of progressive policies? Do they have Medicare for all? Look at their minimum wage there. Which was delayed, I believe. So the point that I'm making is that
ran on raising the minimum wage. The Democrat ended up running on raising the minimum wage, and it's like, why didn't you do that when you all had the power to do it? I mean, it was just so uninspiring. People just were like, whatever, they're not going to do anything. So I mean,
because they know. It's the carrot. It's the carrot effect that, like Rome was pointing out. They know people want that. And this is why, like what you're saying or what you just said is, this is why when you see, they know exactly what people want. They know exactly because they know what to say during the election.
Right.
It's just that they just don't want to deliver, or they're being paid in this case specifically not to deliver. I'll try to find that story.
They be too busy
while
getting
we're talking
paid.
about
They be
this.
too busy
Yeah,
getting paid to even think about it. They be like, oh shit, I got an election coming up. Fix some roads and call some black women. We're gonna go to a black church, some shit like that.
Yeah, and get some
Mhm.
hot sauce out of our
Yeah, get some
purse.
hot sauce. So, yeah, like they're gonna have our hot sauce in their bags and shit like that. But other than that, none of these people really care about you. It's just another way to get them healthcare, get them a better job. Because man, it's like so many things. It's so many things that we have to go through, top, bottom, and even if we were to like put this great person into office, this office. I mean, think of these. Think of it like an ocean full of sharks, and you just sent your best swimmer out there. Even I don't know. Maybe that's your strategy, but I'd rather have a better way of probably get a boat or something. But whatever.
Yeah, let's build a boat.
Well, let me show you. I do have the story. I think that, I did find the stories. This website, International Committee of, so they're a world socialist website. They're reporting on this. So California single payer health care plan dead on arrival as Democrats abandon bill they campaign on. So just to give you the technical background. So on Monday, California Assembly Bill AB 1400 was set to go up for a vote in the California legislature. That's the California legislator. AB 1400, also known as the Guaranteed Health Care for All Act, or CalCare, that's what we usually call it on Twitter, CalCare, was proposed to guarantee single-payer medical coverage to every California resident, including undocumented immigrants, and would be funded via business and payroll taxes. So imagine that. It's funded via business and payroll taxes. Undocumented people would also be covered, which is great because they're humans. All California resident. It was voted on in the Senate, passed, came out of committee in the House, or an assembly is what it's called in California at the state level, and they decide not to put the bill up for vote. They pull it because it's going to expose that they're not really going to vote for this, even though they're literally right here. Your thoughts, Keisha or Courtney? Whoever wants to start.
I mean, it just makes me ask everything, yes, that you all said, but when you're talking to people who would still support Democrats, what is the last straw? What's going to be the last straw?
Right.
How many times do these people have to lie to your face? How many times are they going to run on I mean, I'm younger and it's been however many elections I voted and it's enough. What are you going to keep dating shit? No. Right. Move on with your life.
What do you think is going to take, Rome? Rome, what do you think it's going to take? So the most liberalist K-high person or know on Twitter, what is it going to take for that person? What is it going to take for Democrats to do or not do for that person to wake up?
I'm not going to put his name out there, but like nowadays, back in the days, he used to smear the shit out of me. But nowadays, he's one of my bigger supporters and whatnot. Well, he's hang around people that should smear me, I should say. But I'm friends.
Yeah.
But he was a liberal. When I started getting on that, you shouldn't vote at all type shit, they was like, oh, he's going too far and calling me this and that. But it takes for real life conversations overall to show them how insane they have been throughout these generations. If you have voted for generations or these years, and you can weigh these things on a Libra scale of what good and bad, and what is good and what is bad. And when I tell these people, like, you so privileged that you don't even see it, even just us having a conversation right here about these policies and shit like that. People don't have the time to do that in these other countries because our favorite politicians just passed off on nuclear bombs to drop on their home. That's how privileged we are. So when look, you gotta stop thinking about it's my team gonna do well. It's the earth gonna do well with these people in office. Is anything gonna happen for you and your family, people around the world? Is it good or is it bad overall? And when you show them the bad things that have really put hurt on people, and not even just people in today and age. We talking future generations, people who's gonna live through this shit and live with these problems because of these bombs and whatnot. So, you just show them to their face how wrong they have been. Like, and a lot of these motherfuckers on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they talk all tough. They're not like that in real life. They act like, these.
Yeah,
they can't take a conversation. They'll block you. You know what I'm saying? But you can't do that shit to a nigga in real life. I'm going to put that shit in your face. I'm going to show you that you have blood on your hands, that your vote killed people. Just like the progressives did with the Iron Dome.
Right.
Or anything else you want to give police billions of dollars and shit like that. What they gonna say to a nigga like me if I'm in real life? Like, look, this, that. No, nigga.
Yeah.
There is no.
Yeah. They make excuses though.
I think it's something that we really got to think about, because it's where California goes, so goes the rest of the country, which is normally a good thing. Like, oh, California does all the environmental stuff first. They take up, but if this is the way they're going on this, they couldn't even get a vote on it. Then that's not boding well for the rest of the country and the rest of the Dems. So, hopefully this is this would be a good place for people to be like, just like Rome was saying, you can just tick off all of the points of the reasons why you should no longer be associated with the Democrats. And this should be proof for any person who's like, oh, we can just buy electric cars and save the planet, that people that believe that, you could say, okay, well, if you believe in electric cars and California is not leading on this Medicare for all. They're abandoning people.
They're abandoning. We literally so close. So, that's why it was so heartbreaking. And I can't remember who I was talking to, but there were literally activists waiting for 6 hours before they found out it wasn't going to go on the floor. They had came there. They knew the vote was up that day. They had been waiting for hours.
Damn. They needed no Republican votes, right? They needed no Republican votes.
None. Oh no, no. It's very lopsided. I tweeted it out if I find a tweet, but it's very lopsided to where literally a 25% of the Democrats don't even have to vote for it, and it can still pass. They have that type of majority, super majority there. But I think it's an opportunity to show other liberals that the Democratic Party to radicalize them.
Play with your life with a pen. They play with your life with a pen and a piece of paper.
Exactly.
But then they're going to turn around and they're going to do the Supreme Court justice who's black, and they're going to say, but. And it's that's bullshit. That is total bullshit for my everyday
That's what
life.
those things are for. It's so funny you say that, because that's what those things are for. Those things are for so they can say, no, we gave you Juneteenth. We weren't able to do this, but we gave you Juneteenth. Yeah, we weren't, able to do that. But look, a Supreme Court justice. We weren't able to do voting rights, but we got you a Supreme Court justice that does what? That votes on the side of corporate America. What does that do for us?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Look at Clarence Thomas. He's also black. What does that do? It's so dishonest. Yeah, but
they love what he do. They love what
Clarence they do. That is
true. What he do. And
they're trying to act like
we speak out against him, we're being dismissive. We're
one they like.
Oh man, here go this.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to pick which one to even bring up. I guess it doesn't. Oh no, this is the one I want to do first. So let me unshare this, because I actually want to share JB's tweet about it. So let's start with that first. We'll start here. This is JB, of course, RBN co-member. Whoopi Goldberg's statement was the equivalent of some Confederate flag stand saying that the Civil War was to fight for states' rights. States' rights to do what? Whoopi, the Holocaust was because a man's inhumanity to man. By what means, Whoopi, is what he's saying. And that's just basically he's reporting on the story, or talking or commenting on the story that Whoopi Goldberg suspended from The View over a Holocaust comment. Now, I don't watch The View. I don't know the context of what was said, or even if the context even matters on what was said, or how, let me change that banner, or how it was said. but they felt it was enough to where she was suspended. And people's reactions are as such, and it's so funny. I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to pass it to all of you. My wife, who is in a different political lane than I am, I'm thinking about doing a show with her, actually, so you can see the conversation. Everybody has. I see you. I see you two right there laughing about that. But yeah, so she's completely not into like politics, like we discuss it from an intellectual standpoint. Is really just real world experience. And if I were to describe her, she would probably align herself with somebody like a Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, kind of in that lane. There's somebody else, Tulsi Gabbard or a Kim Iverson. So that's how I see her. But anyway, she comes to me and says, have you heard about this, Whoopi Goldberg, and tells me this story, not knowing that I know this whole story. I'm going to cover it in my show. And she's telling me what she's hearing from Black people in her atmosphere. She's mainly on Instagram, right? And Facebook. So she's telling me what she's hearing, not knowing, what I'm going to be saying. And she says she's hearing people say, what did Whoopi Goldberg, what did she say was wrong? That Black people are saying, like, what did she say that was incorrect? It wasn't race because it's one white person versus another white person. And then that's when I had to explain to her, well, we're doing this story. And then it's like people in my sphere, Black people, have the completely opposite take on it. And JB's tweet is what came to mind because he kind of broke it down differently. So this is kind of two perspectives. And what I told my wife was, you have to understand, back during the time of the Holocaust, Jewish people weren't considered white people. Like we look at them as white people today. It wasn't the same. So for you to say that you're only looking through the lens of today, how they're viewed as white people today, even when they came to this country, not until they largely assimilated, then they started being included in the white category, even in this country. So yeah. So anyway, your thoughts. I'll start with Liv, since I didn't start with you the first time. So Liv, if you didn't hear about the story, this is what it is. She made that comment in what context I don't know. She's suspended, but she's a moron on a different level besides this comment, or I don't know, what side you lay on this comment, but that's not the point of what I'm saying. My question is, do you think the network really believes she did something wrong, or do you think they're just doing this for show? Like, you know what I mean? Like Jeffrey Toobin, for example.
Yeah, I was
like they knew all along he's coming back. Oh, go ahead, suspend him.
Exactly.
And Chris Cuomo, they would have brought back Chris Cuomo if the other thing didn't drop when he was suspended.
Exactly.
And then they saw more evidence came out. So they always bring these people back. Yep. So do you think they're being serious? Like, do you genuinely think? I'll start with you, Liv. Do you genuinely think that the network cares that she said this, or do you think she's just playing to the culture war? She's just playing. She said this, so we have to hold them accountable, and this is holding them accountable. So your thoughts, Liv?
Breaking news: a moron said something moronic. Like, I can't. And I'm so sick and tired, like, of this getting any energy, this this is all what corporate stream media wants us to be talking about right now. Like what you just said, kind of aiding into the culture war and stuff. But I mean, like, I saw someone in the comments mention, wait, I'm gonna find it. Okay, the fact that they call it the Holocaust as if no other race went through a Holocaust is also extremely insulting. Let's talk about then the fact that, like, the biggest, most mass genocide happened right here on this fucking soil to indigenous people of all time. And, like, they want us to keep going into this, like, oh, should the Holocaust be taught? Oh, should critical race theory be taught? Oh, it's just, I can't stand it. I can't. Stop giving it your energy and time. You have a fucking revolution to plan.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to take this comment here, and thank you, Liv, for that. I'm not sure how to take. I think Black people, Asian people, Native Americans, and Meso American people have enough consistent, unique physical characteristics to constitute classifying those groups as races. So I guess I think I kind of understand in the context of what I was saying about some people in the Black community saying that what did Whoopi say was wrong when both of them are white, like one is doing, you know. So I guess in that context, this person is saying that these groups of people have enough physical differences to where they're classified as a different race compared to Jews, Italians who weren't classified as white when they first got here. Irish people weren't classified as white when they first got here. But I mean, I still don't accept that race even exists. So that, you know, that's what I have to say about that.
I don't think she should have a show. Period. Fuck The View.
Yeah. So let's bring in Rome. So what are your thoughts, Rome, on Whoopi Goldberg in general, on this whole thing about her?
Can I say the C word? Fuck.
You can say whatever you want to say.
No. I'm gonna say fuck Whoopi. You know, because if they gave a motherfucker about Jewish people, they would have kicked her ass off when she was talking all that shit about Bernie Sanders. Man, shut the fuck up. They're doing all this shit because she made probably some investors mad, some higher uppers mad. You know how I go. Get her off the thing. They don't even watch the show. You know, they just heard about it, heard what she said, and they was like, oh well. I'm like, man, fuck that. Fuck The View. Period. Suspend all they ass. It'll do a lot of boomers a fucking favor. Shit.
Yes, because that's where they get I try watching that crap just to sit, and I literally maybe 45 seconds. I don't understand how anybody can sit through that, because it's literally people who have no idea about the topics they're talking about topics. And that's what essentially what the show is. And it's pretty terrible. It's not like they get 10 million viewers, but you know, or maybe they do, you know.
It's almost like I hate watch it. Like, it's so bad you have to watch it. Like, you need to know what people are saying. They do have a lot of really dumb things that they say, and it's the thing that's the worst about it is that it runs cover so much for Democrats. Like, when Joe Biden was running, they let Jill Biden come out for the interviews because they knew he would say something crazy, you know, but then they demonized Bernie Sanders. Like, they've always been on the same page. So I don't know if it's so much what Whoopi said. It's a few things. It's the fact that they don't want people truly having any discussion. There are people who agree with what Whoopi said, even though Jews were definitely seen as a different race and subhuman and all these things. But they would rather not have that discussion and you know, in open conversation because they want to stifle that. So they're like, no, we'll just suspend you. And I wonder if it also too has to do with anything about the Joe Rogan stuff, where they're kind of trying to prove a point, like, see, we hold our people accountable. And it's like, it's so extreme because this is why people are moving away from you for this very reason.
Yeah.
That was the point. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Crazier stuff. Oh, sorry. What did you say, CJ?
No, I was gonna say I didn't know if I was interrupting you. And to your point, it's like they don't want any discussion of nuance because that takes you to critically think about it. They just want to go black and white, yes and no. That's it. It's no, she said bad. That's it. And to your last point about it may be connected to Joe Rogan. Yeah. This is what liberals do. They do we need to show, you know, that we're doing it too. And this is to my question earlier about, do you think it's just to play to that, to be like, see, we're doing it too? Or do you really believe? I don't believe anyone, substantially thinks that suspending Whoopi Goldberg either way was a big deal. They just think that we need to do this for our audience. We need to show our audience we're holding her accountable. But why can't people have discussions and say things, and then you talk about that thing? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's ironic because that is supposed to be the whole point of the show, is that they're supposed to have these discussions and talk about things. And I mean, but you know what's weird? We do see the show because our mom watches it all the time. So we'll see Joy Behar was going on a little thing about how she's actually Italian and she's not Jewish, and how she always gets mistaken for Jewish, and like she got to go on this whole thing about it. So it's just interesting. I feel like the viewers of The View are liberal people who kind of just hear a word and then they're like, oh, somebody said Jewish, somebody said black, somebody said, and then they want to pick that apart and take that and use it as something. And I definitely think, the momentum of Joe Rogan probably had something to do with it.
And this is exactly why they can't find a conservative host, because they want a conservative host who's gonna say the things that they exactly want and that they can exactly dispute, rather than a conservative host that, they'll definitely never bring on there.
So tell us more about that. Tell us more about that, because I don't know the show since you watch it a little bit, because your mom does. So they've been looking for a conservative host for a while, and they still haven't found one.
Yeah, so they had Meghan McCain before, and they let her say her piece, and they argued a little bit, so it was like maybe a little more interesting.
But she was also she didn't like Trump, so that was they liked that. She didn't like Trump. She's very pro-war, so they were fine with that. She loved Joe Biden, so they were fine with that. It was it was just they're looking for a very specific kind of conservative, rather than what's really out there, rather than they've never had a working class person, they've never had somebody progressive. They
had one black libertarian girl on there for one day, remember? She looked like the girl from Alabama Shakes, but she wasn't.
Oh yeah.
They've been trying it, but they don't want anybody who's going to be just a little too out of line, a little too touchy. That's why they got rid of Meghan, because it was too much.
And the show is crazy because it's just straight up consumerism. Like, they do these little segments and they barely have any back and forth, and then they sell stuff at the end of the show. Like 15 minutes of the show is them being like, oh, here's a neck pillow that you can get 10% off, and you're like, you went to law school to sell neck pillows, and to talk some bullshit to the Democratic Party. Like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy, but that's basically all that it is. And the fact that they can't see that that's why their viewership is so low, the fact that they, like when Rosie O'Donnell used to be on there, I at least feel like there was something to it. People were getting some arguments, they very rarely, they really want to stifle that. And I think that that's just a bigger reflection of the mainstream media and them just trying to stifle any kind of dissent. It's crazy. It feels terrible. Like you're watching like Stepford Wives or something weird.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as you're able to watch it and report back to us on what's going on in this world, because it's truly tough. It's truly tough for me to stomach. But let me switch gears again here, because I looked at the time and I wanted to devote as much time as possible to the main topic. I didn't realize we would have so much to say about these side topics. So let's hold the Black woman Supreme Court pick to the end, and we'll get to the main topic: why the media demonizes Black men. And let me start first with sharing with you part of the video that I saw and how I kind of stumbled upon this topic. This person tweets out, people pushing these derogatory narratives about Black men are a minority, but with a big microphone. I think you say his name, Turin, dropping jewels. Here's his full segment. And I'll get to Turin's article in just a second. But this is his appearance on Black News, BNC. And let's listen. I'm going to start and stop on different points. Let me take this ad off. So just hang tight here. Let's start with the introduction. Hang on.
Torrin Walker is the founder and editor of Context Media Group and started an engaging dialogue about it. And he wrote an article on a demonization of Black men in media, activism, and academia. And we can't wait to get into this, because Torrin says it's apparent that media of all types collectively offer a distorted representation of the lives and reality of Black males. And I just had to have this brother on. Torrin Walker joins us now from Jacksonville, Florida, to share his insights based on his research and, of course, keep it real with us this morning. Good morning to you, Torrin. Thanks for joining us, man.
Good morning, Mike. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Hey, so the article, read it, loved it. The Black Boogeyman Live. Let's talk about black misandry. Let's just say the fear of the black man, it still persists. It's still out there, and it's been that way since the existence of the black man in this country. What drove you to write this article, though? Put this column out? Or why was it so something that was on your heart that you had to get your passion out in writing?
Well, I wrote that article in response to an article I read that came out of Vanity Fair about 3 weeks ago. It was called Dave Chappelle and the Black Ass Lie. And it was written about, ostensibly about a critique of Dave Chappelle's comedy on The Closer. And I thought that article took the really valid discomfort that some black men and some black gender nonconforming people may have about Chappelle's work. And it kind of spun it out into this narrative that demonized all black men in general. And, you know, and I thought it also ties into what I call the myth of the black boogeyman, which is sort of like African-American men, ever since we got here, have been demonized. We've been seen as this sort of giant predator or a potential predator. And the only way we can be controlled is through state violence or political violence or death. And I just thought it was very dangerous. So what I wanted to do with that article was try to present some counter narratives, bring some data into it to talk about the fact that there's a small minority of black men who can be dangerous, but the majority of us are not like that. And it's important to tell those stories.
I'll stop it there with that comment, because it did have me think about today, like wow, that is so true. Even black people, and I can say even myself, sometimes I have to tell myself, like, wait a minute, not to fall for the propaganda about black men, about black people in general. I have to catch myself, and this is the reason why I have to cut off all sort of like corporate media. I don't watch really TV that much. But the point, but the what was it? The point that I'm making is, 1 second. Let me play this video. Oh. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking to make sure I'm trying to get that thought back. Oh, so the point that I'm making is I'm switching points. I'm not making the same point. So for black men to be demonized this way, there was a tweet I put out, and it came from this article. It's a direct quote from Malcolm X. And let me share a different screen here, and I'll begin here. And if I come back to that thought, I will bring it back up once I hit my notes here. So this is the opinion piece here, and there's a couple of sections. But if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppression. Oh, this is the thought I was going to say. It was profound when I heard that, because when I thought about the black men in my life, I was like, wow, that is so true. I don't know a lot of people. Like, I know people from the neighborhood, but I know a lot of black men who are fathers, great fathers. I know a lot of black men who are, educated or gainfully employed and doing just fine. Like, that is the majority of black men that I know. But when you watch TV, what sells is the caricature of black men, the Maury Povich show of having a bunch of kids and not taking care of them. But statistically, if you look it up, most black men who have kids are in their kids' lives. Is there a big gap? Absolutely. Is mass incarceration tied up with it? Is oppression tied into it? Absolutely. There's a lot into it with that. But the point that I'm making is the narratives that's nationally known in white media and just media is counter to the reality that all of us may experience. A bunch of all the black people I know are working, but the idea is that black people are lazy and don't want to work. So you get the point that I'm making. So that has to come from somewhere, and this article kind of delves into it. So let me read just the first part, and then I'll bring the Bank sisters in for comment. So this is how the first section of this goes. There's a scene in D.W. Griffin's racist epic, Birth of a Nation, that takes place in the South Carolina Senate chamber during the Reconstruction period when, for the first time in history, Black men were able to vote and hold public office in the former slave-holding South. The scene depicts these newly enfranchised Black men as barely sentient savages, eating fried chicken, butchering the English language, dressed in torn clothes or outlandish costumes in pathetic imitation of their former master. Another scene in the film portrays a newly freed, sexually aggressive Black soldier stalking a white woman who chooses suicide over the threat of interracial violation. No one who saw these images in 1915 could mistake the message. Black men are ignorant children at best and uncontrollable sexual beasts at worst, only fit to live in subject to hard power of physical white discipline or the soft power of white guidance. And I thought that there is very, very profound to me. And I think what this article is sort of saying is this is sort of the genesis of the criminalization, the demonization in media of the Black man, of Black men, even though that's absolutely not the reality of the situation. So I'll go to you first, Keisha, and then I'll go to Courtney. Now, you may have had conversations like this with a lot of people. I know a lot of Black people talk about this, about the images in media. We make jokes about it. But if you could think how ingrained the images of any person in the United States, any single, like if you can describe, and you probably would say Black male is the most recognizable. If you can just say Black male, what comes to mind? Criminal, words like that. Like you get what I'm saying? It's like an instant reaction just to the idea. Where does that come from? And that's my question to everybody. Where does that come from? Unless, if not from media, from them obviously playing up these things that, these some Black men's downfall as in projecting that as all Black men are this way. So if you could speak to that, I'll start with you, Keisha.
Where does it come from? I mean, yeah, this is Birth of a Nation is quite a place to start with it. I mean, it seems like, I guess it seems like in TV, things have really been pushed onto us or romanticized in certain ways that I think are not necessarily to make the Black men look the best. It's, there's not a lot we can do about it, but I think what concerns me a little bit more is almost what you're saying about the whitewashing of where have all the good men gone? Why aren't there any representations of good men? But I don't want us to fall into we were just talking about this earlier. We have to be really careful not to fall into thinking that just because there are a lot of Black people in commercials and Black men smiling in commercials, that all is well and we're accepted. And every time they put a mugshot up, it's going to be a great mugshot of someone. Like, they're trying to really pacify us and make us think that with their identity politics, they're doing a good job. But in reality, Black men are still being shown very poorly. I agree.
That is a great point. Courtney, go ahead.
Man.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna go 2 seconds. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, Ron. But go ahead, Courtney. Go ahead.
Oh, he's going. Okay. I was just gonna say, yeah, definitely the depictions have in the past decade or so. I think they've been more, especially in commercials and showing interracial families and all of that. But something I remember growing up in this area, we don't live too far from DC, and in DC in the 90s, it was nonstop. Black men are committing crime. They are dangerous. Get out of the street. It's dangerous to be out at night. And for me, I was like kind of just here by myself a lot. And then everybody else around me, when I went to school, my teachers were white. A lot of the kids, all the kids around me were white. And those prejudices seep into the way they teach. They seep into the way that your friends interact with you. And so I recognized, that I needed to leave this place to experience more. So even me going from Virginia to Ohio was like a huge leap for me. And I met so many more Black friends. I had Black roommates for the first time. Like, it was like, even taking those steps, I had to deprogram myself. And I'm a Black person. I still went to church with Black people every Sunday, but then the only people I saw were like Black do-gooders at church. It's like, you got to be a church Black person, or you might be out in the streets. And there was no in between, And so I think and that was another part of it too, like living in the country where we live. They were almost like scare Black people into living their life. It was like, oh, you don't want to cause a ruckus. We're just going to stay back here. We're going to stay out of trouble. And I think that was P's and Q's.
Yeah, I think that was pushed actually really hard in our church and our family. Like really hard pushing. You have to act a certain way and be a certain way. And if you're, plenty of our cousins have been to jail. If you're in jail, it's 100% your fault. And it took a long time through our family just to even get to the point where we could get them to say like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't 100% their fault that they went to jail. This happened and that happened. And
look at the differences in how we grew up, or maybe the income, or maybe
like so many different, even like deprogram our, within our own family.
So they've been hammering at this for so long.
Yeah.
But the news was a big part of it, and just making that boogeyman. And that's how Biden sold the 94 crime bill. How he, that was one of the big things. That's what Hillary Clinton was talking about with all these super predators. So it was huge. And people, we're seeing it now. They always need some villain, and they really did a number.
But it's like, what? For example. So for the audience member, for maybe that white person who's saying, hey, if Black people commit crime, this is what they're putting on TV. You have to look at it like this. Black people are not committing the vast majority of crime. It's spread out, but Black people make up the vast majority of crime stories. You get what I'm saying? So,
but CJ,
it's over projected. Go ahead, Ron.
Because yes, the arts have a lot to do with the way that people look at us. Our cities are redlined, and Black people don't live in these spaces. So they don't know any better, and they're racist by default. So, but at the same time, like, they're not writing movies about the motherfuckers who putting us in these situations. Even if they are, they're not putting them up in those big screens. So, okay, like somebody said, it's some troll that was in here earlier said, have you seen the streets of Chirac? Yeah. And you know what it reminds me of? Government neglect. It reminds me of, the 80s when they put crack in our cities, right? Did y'all, so we can look at it like, okay, these niggas killing each other. That's bad. You shouldn't do that. Why are they killing each other?
They don't want to talk about that, Ron.
Right.
It's always surface. It's always surface.
What puts them here? What put them in this situation? So you don't want to go there, because then you're gonna have to start talking about what's really going on, and if you or your family is really benefiting off that type of shit, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these motherfuckers coming, they act like they come in good faith, whatever the fuck. You need to shut the fuck up. Because when you say shit like that, that's like the basics of a conservative white brain. Like you don't even know, you can't even dig deeper into shit like that. You don't even want to look deeper into it. So don't ask about it.
Another thing kind of touching on the white brain too is they're the ones who are making this media and pushing this news. And so it behooves them to only show the stories, even though there are probably way fewer of Black men doing something violent and not talk about the context or anything, when I know the first person who gave me drugs was a white person. The first person who tried to take me somewhere to like egg a house was a white person. The first person who, right? Like the first, but people lying on their college applications, just making shit up. Why wasn't that a story? Because a lot of kids are doing that. Or the amount of kids, like, I mean, so many white girls would steal like just random shit. And you're just like, what the hell? Yeah. And it's just laughed off. But if that's happening in mass, how come that's not being made the story every night? And they're not being
I'm gonna write a movie, Courtney. I'm gonna write a movie about a school shooter. I'm gonna write like 5 parts to it. I'm gonna make these motherfuckers so mad. And I'm gonna tell you, like, it ain't gonna be about no gun control shit. No, it's gonna be why. I mean, what's wrong with these motherfuckers and how they're weaponizing their children against us with that racist mindset and not digging deeper into politics and pushing it down to the children. So now you have your children with all these, like, y'all don't even talk to your children. Man, get the fuck out of here.
Because they have to perpetuate that ignorance. It has to be perpetuated.
Don't talk on
another show.
Okay, you don't.
I said this on another show.
Yeah, you're going to keep your kids away from these cities or colored people and whatnot. I'm telling you right now, you people are setting these white children up for failure in a world where everybody is mixing. Damn near everybody is going to be brown. You're going to put them in the future with this mindset, and they're going to be outcasts like you are now. right? That's how a lot of you conservatives or people with the mindset feel like the world is pushing you out. People are growing progressive now. People want to gay people can get married now, and we can smoke weed in public now. And you don't like it. You don't like it. You're going to set these children up for failure. You're living in the past, and your time has passed.
Right. The teaching, the way the traditions you're passing down is no longer gonna work in a world that's so mixed. Like it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work that way anymore. And it's like you said, is making them outcasts. So let me bring in Liv for your perspective. I do have a unique question for you. Now you can comment on what everybody has been talking about, but before your awakening, because you said you kind of grew up in a bubble, white bubble, where you thought the Black Panthers were bad. I think you told me that, for example, because that's what you heard, and then you found out later like that's completely not the truth. Were these the type of images? As you were growing up, were these the type of images in your neighborhood that white people, first off, do white people openly talk about these things that they see? Crime, not necessarily, Black people, but just saying, talk about these things that we're discussing about. Is there a fear of Black men is what I'm saying. Is there an excessive fear? Is there discussion about that? And any other part you want to contribute to?
That was a big question. I grew up, again, kind of just thinking of back then of how it's been. It was very much like, don't talk about those things, like, to maintain the white privilege bubble, you need to maintain appearances, and it's not, you're watching the news or whatever whatever you deem your source of news. It's corporate stream media, and you're getting your intake and you're getting propagandized, and then you're going to public schools, you're getting indoctrinated into public schools with whitewash history, if anything. And it's definitely something. I mean, I was told we don't really talk about, but also I really think of like the misogyny that I was really talking about because I was raised in like such a white area, with a really big white family. It was also just like boys will be boys, and like you need to monitor yourself, like you need to monitor what you wear and how you dress and how you portray yourself to the world, because you're the problem. And also that individualism, which we just kind of talked about with like how we've seen it with people who are unhoused, and it's like, well, it's their fault they're unhoused because they didn't work hard enough, and it's with no question that it could be this system has enabled that. And I've had like conversation with my mom, like, who works in a predominantly Black school where it's primarily like high poverty, and they have a lot of people who are a lot of parents who are incarcerated, which I think we should just start saying is like slavery. I think we should just start re-saying that because it's slavery. I think we get rid of incarcerated because it's too nice. It's slavery. You know, it's also like, well, like, I can still see like, well, these people are making all of these mistakes. And I'm like, well, why do you think they're making mistakes? Like, why do you think they're like, wouldn't you be doing anything possible to like maintain for your family too? So I see that still happening now with the news being propagandized. So I haven't watched any, I've been off the news for like, since like, I think after Trump got elected, that's when I stopped watching news.
Let me ask you this question, and it's gonna be for you and for everybody. Do you think the lack of curiosity to why, like white America generally don't ask, well, why are people doing this, is because they have the answer on why? They're Black is the reason, but they're not gonna say that. You get what I'm saying? That's the reason. Is that they're Black. So yeah, I don't know. That was just a thought that popped into my continue. Whoever wanted to comment. I think Rome was just about to say something.
Go. He's on mute.
I'm sorry. All you got to do is ask yourself, where the hell did these guns and drugs and you think that we got that much control within our communities to get stuff shipped in a city? You out of your mind? Like, you know, the CIA put you're willfully ignorant. You're willfully ignorant at a point. Some of these people, they know because they go at it too. They be like, yeah, skip the CIA and skip the FBI and skip the police and skip Black people. Like, what the fuck?
Your comment there, Rome. I'll bring in everybody to this question. Willfully ignorant. That's the description I would give to white America about this. It's willful ignorance. But I used to be, and Kamali, we've had this discussion maybe with Rome, where I see white people or older white women, I try not to seem myself. I try to, not to seem intimidating. Like, those days are over. Like, that's been over for a couple of years now, but I can remember doing that. So I internalized the idea of me being myself. You get what I'm saying? Is scary to somebody. You get what I'm saying? Because this somebody has been trained. Just imagine this. You're segregated on purpose. Maybe this is all the plan. You're segregated on purpose. And then the same people who are segregating you, the corporations, the government, they're one and the same. They beam into your house this information about these people you don't live around. You get what I'm saying? So they beam into your house all these images of these Black people doing this, these Black men doing that, right?
Oh, I gotta lock the door. I gotta hold my purse.
Right. So what is that? What is it gonna do?
You think you're stronger than me? Look at that damn purse, lady. What the fuck you talking about? No, I'm talking shit.
But you get what I'm saying. Rome took it there, but you get what I'm saying. Like you separate them so that we can give this section of people the information about this other group of people that we want them to have, and it's just perpetuated and perpetuated and perpetuated. So I will go start with Courtney. This time, there's another part of this discussion of this I'll bring in. Actually, let me bring that in so I can preface the question that I'm going to ask you with this. So let me bring that in first, and then I'll preface it. So down here under black skin, white supremacy thoughts. The large majority of the Negroes who have put on the finishing touches of our best colleges are all but worthless in the development of their people. Now, this could be a separate topic, or maybe it's a connected topic, but let me read it again. So the large majority of Negroes who have put on the finishing touches of our best colleges are all but worthless in the development of our people. I guess this kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier about black men kind of being left behind in the struggle, is that we've gained, getting college degrees, buying homes and all of this stuff, but gaining all of those riches have done what for the development of the black community? I would say nothing is what I would say. So I'll go to
Whoa, I don't know about that, Peggy. Whoa,
you saw a comment. You can put it up if you're logged
times. Like, hold on, what the
hell? If you're logged in, Rome, you can put the comment up.
When I missed the rituals, I missed them.
Yeah. So Courtney. So let me start with you, Courtney. So the question for you is, in the article or in the video also, they talk about how some of the stereotype or some of the pushing this derogatory projection about black men is coming from black academia, meaning the Dr. Jason Johnsons, the Don Lemons, the just black academia in school.
Funny you should say that.
And black activism. Go ahead.
Funny you should say that. I literally wrote down Don Lemon isn't liberating anybody. That's what I just wrote down. Don Lemon having a college degree doesn't mean shit for us. Okay, but also because Don Lemon wants to be in that elite circle. Yes. Don Lemon, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be rich, if you want to be that person, fuck everybody else. That's your mindset. You know what I mean? So a lot of these people, it's the same thing. We talked with JB a lot about this yesterday, but pull up the ladder behind you. And we see that time and time again. But I feel like that's why the elite media goes so hard at the people who can actually make a difference. And they do this with black women as well. Like an example I would use is on Bad Faith podcast, Bree had some academics on there, and they were talking about Cardi B and how she had asked Joe Biden about Medicare for all. Mm-hmm. And instead of this academic professor, she was a black woman, instead of her praising this and doing all of that, she started focusing on like kind of how capitalistic she is and what she wears on Instagram. And I'm like, that is not the point. We have a person who has access to power, but see how they flip the conversation. You know what I mean? And it's like she was devaluing what Cardi B could bring to the table. And I feel like, black elites do that so much with your Jason Johnsons and all these people. They immediately, they say they want to be there for the struggle and they want to cover black issues on their shows and all, what their white liberal audience wants to hear. But when it comes to calling out the people who are actually in the way and who are actually roadblocks, which is themselves, they're not going to get out of the way. Like they're not going to do that.
It's such a white liberal approach to helping the black community. Like the black elite I'm not going to say black elite, but the black bourgeoisie or the black capitalist class has such a white liberal, hands-off, barely doing anything approach.
Hands up, don't
helping, to helping the black community, while at the same time criticizing those who are doing more, putting down those who are doing the gritty work. So back to the question. So Keisha, if Courtney, if you were finished, let's bring Keisha in here also. So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
The only thing is later on, I don't know if we're going to get to it in the article, but they do talk about the ugly Negro and then the Chappelle of it all. And that's how I kind of feel, you know, when they try to devalue artists, you know, like, oh, they don't have college degrees, or, oh, you know, they're just a comedian, or they're just a basketball player, but they have more connection to what is really going on. And oftentimes they'll be talking more realistically about something that needs to be said for the Black community, and they try to demonize them, you know? And so they're those gatekeepers, of course. But I
no, but Black comedy, what you just said, Black comedy has always been that. Richard Pryor, it's critiquing or uncovering for white audiences what's happening to Black people, but making it in a comical way. But they're addressing, this is what comedy has always done. Comedy has always had the best critiques of establishments, of corruption. Comedy has always been that, in my opinion, especially in particular Black comics.
Well, let's hope it stays that way, because people are getting too politically correct. Everybody just calm down. It's just a joke. Like we need some jokes. We can't be so serious about everything.
People haven't been pulling the punches the way they used to. I mean, you know, people are almost scared to really say, and that's why I think, you know, and this article talks about it, but Chappelle is one of the greats, but also because he has the financial backing where he can say what he wants to say and be like, all right, well, fuck it, you know, either take it or leave it. And a lot of people, I think, because I mean, I worked in stand-up comedy, and from what I can see, you have to do so much yes-anding what white liberals want, because that's who's casting you. That's who's casting you in a commercial. That's who wants to try to put you on a late night show. Make sure your set is clean, blah, blah, blah. Like there's, you know, you see people really just try to fit into these archetypes of what they think the Black friend that a, you know, white person would want. And so sometimes I do worry about like the future of comedy with that grit being lost, because you do have to make money, and they're like getting tighter on what is being acceptable. We used to hear wild stuff back in the day. You know, you could really, you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like it's much more clean.
They don't want to hear they don't want to hear a Red Fox album, because if they think, they don't want to hear a Red Fox album because they really talk gritty. But there aren't any other spaces, Rome. Are there any other spaces left where people can talk and really talk about how they feel?
This is what they want. This is why, even if I didn't agree with what the nigga said, I don't care, man. Like that shit don't. He's rich. His life is not affecting yours. You know what he said.
Right.
Even if it was, even if like until Dave Chappelle told people to get up and start hurting people physically, like I do, then you probably have a problem, because he has a platform to probably, you know, his fans
that can get people to actually do that. Yeah, you know? that is a great.
Until then, dude, this is how they are using cancellation through different, you know what I'm saying, variants, I should say, because they come at you through the political, through the political side. You know, we can't say too much on YouTube. We can't say too much on this one. We can't say too much on rap anymore. Remember 2 Live Crew, and now people get mad at Cardi B. Like what? That's nothing.
Is all of this about white comfort? Is all of this I mean,
sort of look at Joe Biden. Look at Joe Biden getting office. All that was about was white comfort and making white people more comfortable.
That is a great point.
Trump was actually pulling off a lot of their masks, seeing especially political wise, they actually, you know, did well under Trump. White families did well under Trump, no matter how much they hate him and no matter how much bullshit they want to talk about him. They did well under Trump, and they once they was like, you know, let's get Joe Biden back in office. And I was like, hold on, this nigga did the crime bill, he did this and that, but he's not Trump, and he's a Democrat. He said he's sorry, and he's gonna make it up, and blah blah blah. Then what he do? You know, kept Trump stuff in office. He's actually fighting for Trump against his people. And Biden administration is actually fighting for Trump in office right now for sexual assault cases. They're fighting for Trump border laws, and they have surpassed them on fossil fuel and given the
drilling permits.
Like come on,
they surpassed them.
So if you didn't like Trump, then what you like, dude? Like, is it? Oh well, it's just the mean tweets. Okay, what is white comfort? Because a lot of black people didn't even give a fuck, like on the streets.
Yeah, don't
niggas
care.
Ain't give a fuck about
it's
that.
really about white comfort. And I saw you,
niggas ain't give a fuck.
And I saw you shaking your head real vigorously, Liv, when I said, "Is this about white comfort?" Did you want to speak to that? Is all of what's happening, not all, but is some of what's happening to make white people feel comfortable? Go ahead, Liv. I'm sorry, Liv. Oh, is she frozen? Liv, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, you just cut out. CJ, say it again.
Oh,
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry.
What did you just ask me?
Man, I forgot what I just said. What did I say, Courtney?
Is it for white comfort?
Yeah.
The way that.
Oh yes. I saw you shaking your head quite vigorously when I mentioned white comfort. So I was asking you, did you have something to say about that comment about, is this really just about white comfort? Is all of some of these things are really, is the suspension of, Whoopi Goldberg about white comfort, is electing Joe Biden really about white comfort? Are all of these sort of things really just to make white people feel comfortable? I don't think she's getting my whole
because
question.
I think
So,
a lot
go ahead. There we
of
go.
a lot of white people are complicit. Oh no, you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
Now
Okay.
I can. I can.
A lot of white moderates are complicit with. You can hear me? Okay. A lot of white moderates are complicit with the system, and that's a big pill for them to swallow. To be like, do you see, like, you've been voting for this? Do you see this? You voted for this, and you keep voting for this, and this is our reality now. Like, you have to, like, literally be like, see that thing that you keep, like, going to, like, hopefully, like, like every 4 years or whatever you were doing, like, this is like what happens in between those elections. This is the damage that is being done. And it's white fragility, white comfort, all that fucking shit. It's just because no one wants to really actually be like, or it's hard to actually take that first step of being like, what is all this two evils thing? Like, what? I don't want any evil. What's that? I never bought into any of that, but that's also like not. That's politics is not talked about because.
But let's be real. Let's be real. A lot of these motherfuckers do agree with Joe Biden and a lot of these laws that he has put into play, because it keeps our communities down. Because without Joe Biden's laws that he wrote, they wouldn't be able to gentrify our neighborhoods. Right? They wouldn't have our neighborhoods over policed like we are animals, right? Because this is what we said. We said, hey, the police is getting too much funding in black neighborhoods.
But the crime rate went up. But the crime rate went up. Rome, the crime rate went up. So we have to fund the police. That's what they're gonna say. But are we stereotyping white people? No, I'm talking about the white people that this applies to. I think everybody kind of already knew that. Obviously, what I'm talking about doesn't apply to Liv, because Liv is not like what I'm talking about. So when I'm speaking about when I'm saying white people, white America, I'm talking about the white people that believe in what I'm saying, whatever it is I'm discussing. So just to address that. But like my grandma used to say, a hit dog will holler
like a motherfucker,
right?
Over there.
Yeah. So,
shut the fuck up and listen. Damn,
maybe you're a little offended for some other reason.
That is the problem. You're not listening when people actually live through these neighborhoods, are talking to you about what's going on. That's your fucking problem, man.
Right.
Listen.
It's like we have to talk about, and this is not about the person's comment. It's just a broader. It's like we have to, like, what's so jarring to me, and we've kind of really went off topic, which is fine. What's so jarring to me is that white comfort is put over the pain of anybody else. White comfort. And just think about Joe Biden when Rome said Joe Biden did this, and this, and it's like, but he's better than Trump. This is the whole story. It's your pain, Rome, incarceration, but over here, because they don't have any connection to that pain.
And they don't have any connection. Would you care about the people that Trump didn't let in this building? I don't give a fuck about a couple of black people. Joe Biden is the only reason why there's laws into play right now.
Right.
But him to even pull that type of shit off in a city like that. So where over here he has a 40-year record, and we can't compare their records, but we can compare mouthpieces. Shut the fuck up, because that's what tells me that you don't care about human lives. Because when I'm talking about crime bill, when I'm talking about wars, the million Iraqi deaths, and we're talking about funding Israel now, we're talking about deaths, not elections. Not elections, not just some vote. This is not just a vote. This is people's lives. It might not be yours.
But out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. This is the reason why our news don't really report on foreign policy, at least not on cable news, because we don't have any interest as a nation on what's going on, how everybody else is living. Like, we literally feel like that's what you get kind of thing, because we've been propagandized as a people. Like, for Americans to be okay, for little kids to be making iPhone parts, to be making Nikes, like, we're fine with that. We're fine with our country. It's because it's not happening to us. That idea, that individualistic way of looking, really, it's a racist way of looking at things. Because everybody who's being affected by all of this stuff happens to be black or brown or indigenous, which is weird, because you never hear about Switzerland getting bombed. You never, you know what I'm saying? You never hear about all these white. Right.
Well, that's the other thing about somebody said something about black complicity in the comments, which I think is a fair point. It's a fair point. We do support and have historically supported some of the things that have been not great for our communities, but I think that goes into the deeper conversation of what we're talking about with being so propagandized.
That's why I just said, shut the fuck up and listen. Shut the fuck up and listen. We only have mouthpieces like Don Lemon, like whoever the fuck got a good platform that's black or colored, wherever the fuck you guys call yourselves nowadays. We only got them people because of who? Who gave us the platforms? Who gave us the power, the money, even? Right. So go deeper. Deeper.
Yeah.
Now, all right.
There's a reason why only certain people attend.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but let Courtney finish her talk.
You're gonna come on a news channel and think you know more than
It feels like, Rome, you're having muscle memory reaction to something.
Yeah, right.
These people I just don't get. That's why I don't even waste my time in debate and talk to people like that on the ground. If you're like that, fuck you, bro. I go talk to you. I go flip your neighbors. I go flip your community around you. Fuck you. Live in
absolutely. But Courtney, that really struck what you said. Really struck a nerve, Rome. But continue with what you were saying there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's just the same thing of the quote that opened it up. The black people who get college degrees are not necessarily going to be the ones who turn around and help your community. And and
it's sad because we're basically, unfortunately, falling into a trap and doing exactly what you want them to do, because what they want you to do is try to assimilate to whiteness as much as possible. So they want you to go to college and be like, "Ooh, I want to hang out with." I want to do this. And look, I lived in DC for a long time, and I definitely fell into that trap where it was like, oh, I want to do all these cool things. And you separate yourself from where you came from, like, oh, well, my family's kind of country and they talk kind of country. And like, oh, I wish my dad would pronounce his R's right and this and that. Like, no. Like, we have to, there's just a lot of deprogramming that everybody needs to do.
But but look at the incentive for people to make this change. Yes, how do you survive if you don't speak quote unquote right? How do you get a good job if you don't speak quote unquote? How do you get a good job if you don't? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
And that goes into the white comfort of, yes, you might be being complicit, but you have to still understand the other level of Is it because the people around me and the threat I feel to my immediate life? You know what I mean? Like it's deeper and deeper every level, and you have to assimilate more and more in your life if you even do want to be on the come up to make any money. And that's just a fact.
Yeah, it sucks. If we were able to push, I mean, hopefully we're doing that now. I mean, just barely. We're able to like wear our hair natural to work or whatever. But like the more we can push back against that kind of assimilation, then the more people we can bring up with us. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can hire my cousin Jackie, who's like a little bit hood. Like, it's fine. Like, you know, the more we can.
But it's also going against these things that white people have said, because they do hire their family. They hire their family all the fucking time. They're not qualified for the job.
Never.
They give them a job. It's also the fact of we don't have the mouthpieces, and what we're doing right now is exactly it, and talking real and saying exactly what it is. Because white people have had talk radio and white guys on talk radio and now nighttime and all this stuff dominating with their thoughts, and they've been able to be wrong and loud and wrong and all of these things. And so you still feel, you know, just you feel like you have a place. And so like we have to be putting our voices into the conversation too, because the only ones that white people are allowing into it are the ones that are on the same page with their agenda.
Exactly. And then they call that diversity. And this is what, and to this point, this is like diversity only matters if that diversity also produces diversity of education, diversity of economic background. So let me make a point. If you get 100 people and you say, okay, 25 are black, but you get all 25 people from the most richest black county in the United States, and they all went to Harvard or Yale, what diversity is that really?
Yeah, there's no representation.
There's no representation, because in the past it's been diversity of color has always kind of went hand in hand with diversity of economic background, diversity, but no longer that's the case. You can go out and get a bunch of Tim Scotts, the Republican guy, get a bunch of, you know, Obamas, get some Kamalas, and then put them up and say, this is our black representation, when none of them represent black community. Not one of them.
Right. No.
You get what I'm saying? So is that diversity? This is why I say, if you have that group, that's not a diversity of economic background. They're all from Ivy League or something like that. That's not a diversity of economic background or educational background. So yeah, it has to go, you know, hand in hand. And the only people they allow in these spaces are the people that they are not afraid of, that they have given a pass to say, this person, this Negro right here is not going to say nothing too crazy. That's the reason why Don Lemon has this, because he's willing to go after black people too, like Black Lives Matter, like he does it all the time.
DJ, I can give you a good real world example. Okay. Do you guys know who Gerard Carmichael is?
Yes.
Okay. His stuff is meh. That's my opinion. But when Gerard,
you're a stand-up comedian too, right?
When Gerard was coming up, it was him and then another guy named Willie Hunter, who wrote for his show, Willie's Sweet, and then another guy named Jamar Neighbors. And Jamar is from Compton. He's from the hood. He is wild. Like, he will wear like no shirt, leather pants, mohawk his hair, all this shit. And he says wild stuff. Like, he will say wild, like, he had one of the funniest sets, but it was about how his like aunt molested him. And so you're not going to put a Jamar on to have the Gerard Carmichael show. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there were white gatekeepers who decided that, you know, they put Gerard up in the original room at the Comedy Store because that's where, you know, most of the tourist people go. Whereas you're going to have Jamar go up in the belly room late at night because, you know, and so it's there, you know, you might think, oh, we've got all this diversity, but they're stifling somebody like a Jamar because they're like, well, that's too wild. This is still okay. And so, you know, when you do see these people, you have to take that with a grain of salt. Like, this might be a pre-approved black person.
When you tell that story, I think back to the story Chris Rock had about, I forget her name, Tanisha, the one who plays the mom on Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh yeah,
Tisha Campbell. No, not Tisha Campbell, but the Tanisha. Her name is
the one who plays,
the one who played Pamela Martin. Yeah, she they didn't want her on the show. They thought that a mom, you know, she was too overbearing. like basically that white people is not going to relate to a mom that behaves like this. And it's like, this is how black moms are. They say, I'm going to slap you into, I'm going to slap you into next week. They say like, and Chris Rock was like, well, we don't have her. I'm not going to do the show. And that's why she got to stay on the show, because they were trying to take her off the show for that very reason. And another thing that I'm going off on a tangent on top of tangents, and just because I just thought of it, this is something I talked to my wife about. I'm starting to point out, because I'm trying to convert her now. I began to do that, and about colorism. I'm like, if you look at TV, look at the black women they cast. They all have body types like the stereotypical white woman has. That's not a coincidence. That's white cast people feeling comfortable. They're not going to have this voluptuous black woman out here. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do that. So all the casting is black people. All the writing, people think these black shows, these are a lot of the writers, or the majority of them are white. It's hard to get black writers. I only know this because my brother is also a stand-up comedian. He writes for Chris Rock too. Like, it's hard on these shows. So you have these shows where you have, white people writing the. This is all roads lead back to slavery. All roads lead back to white comfort. Is white people writing the words for black people so that white people feel comfortable in what they're writing. If you ever watch Family Matters, that old show, ain't no black people saying half the stuff they said in there. Gee golly whiz and stuff. Like, black people ain't saying none of this.
They had a black dad as a cop, bro.
It was a cop.
Yeah, that was on purpose. That was on purpose.
Yeah. It's always something to throw the black dad off, bro. Like, everybody hates Chris. His dad was he was in his life. He was a worker. He was a good man, right? But he's cheap. You know what I'm saying? And he got a bad temper. It's always something, bro. Like, we can't just be black dads. Like,
I hear you. And I think is the reason, back to the point I was making earlier, we can kind of bring it back to the conversation. The reason there isn't a curiosity to why black people are doing these things. Why is there crime? Why? So there's no curiosity, because there is no, well, why are they doing this? Well, what happened? I guess there's a couple of reasons. What Rome says, because then you have to address the reason why the school is unfunded. That's why he didn't get into a college to get a good job. Why is the school unfunded? Because of you're paying people, because schools are funded off of homeowner taxes. But in the ghetto or in the hood, there's not a people who own homes. Why are we doing it that way? You see how many things we have to address just to talk about why this person is committing a crime? This is the reason why they don't want to talk, because they have to address those items. That's the logic one. And then I think there is a segment of people who just don't say, they're not curious because they automatically think it's because they're black. This is what black people do. This is how they act. Only a few good ones get out. So I'll leave that out there. Anybody who wants to kind of.
So now we have to make sure we have to keep the police in those animals, black people communities, because if we defund the police, and then what? Who's gonna stop them animals, black people, from crossing them lines that we have, red line? Who's gonna stop them animals from? Them black people from, rioting and just taking over. They look at us like animals, straight up.
The problem is they would have to be too honest with themselves. For us to get past this, white people would have to be like, okay, I know that I'm censoring this because I don't want to deal with the actual reason why all of this is happening, and that we're too far off from that. We're 100 years off from that. Seriously. I mean, they won't teach CRT. They're definitely not gonna, they're not gonna change their casting methods.
You just gotta go wild out, like Rome said. Fuck it. Like, what else can you do?
You could do. So, Liv, where you are in Maryland, how would you classify Maryland? You would classify, is Maryland a southern? No, it's not southern. Is that more New Yorkish?
Yes, it's
or
right
is it more
below the
Bostonish?
Mason-Dixon line. It is a southern state.
That's what I was gonna say. So does it have a southern state feel, or does it have a middle state feel? I think Virginia to me has a not really southern or northern. It kind of, what does it have to you, Liv? And then I'll go to the Bank Sisters. What does Maryland have to you?
The more southern you get in Maryland, the more conservative and what's the other word I was looking for? White it gets. But like my first experience being like the only white family in the room was when we went to the Arundel Mills Mall right after we moved here. And I was just like, I had never seen so many black people in my entire life, because I had felt like I had just been so sheltered in my area. And I was just like, are we not going to have a conversation about this? Like, this just kind of like, this like blew my mind. And it was just like, that was just a family trip to the mall. And I was like, my whole world just like all these other people out there. And like, there was only 2 black kids at my high school that I went to in Westboro, Massachusetts. And there was only a handful of kids more at the even whiter high school I went to when we moved to Maryland. But it was only a few towns away because of the redlining, away from a very predominantly black area. And it still is. I do most of my mutual aid work in Baltimore. That's a historically black area that has been just neglected time and time again with everything, because they're like, fuck it, like, exactly what you're saying, like, oh well, it's the black people, so we need to, we got to send all the police into the communities, we need to be monitoring them. Like, what else can we do? Crime, we're so terrified, we need to be safe in our communities. What else are we supposed to do? It's really sick. And but like what the Bank sisters were saying, like, that level of what I learned from grad school is the term cultural humility, of like really breaking down like the facts that like you're not, as a white person, you're not going to be able to experience certain things or whatever. But like really also breaking down like where your belief systems come from. And it's like, whoa, like, why do I think
that part right there,
really
where your belief systems come from, that part.
Yeah.
And I think it's shocking. It's something that white America doesn't want to address, that a lot of their beliefs comes from slavery. They don't want to have to face that. And I think that's partially why the reaction
to woman role. A lot of these motherfuckers, even white men now that damn zone distress, like, I didn't know my family owned slaves, but you want reparations from me? Like, oh, I think I got generational.
But this is the reaction, Rome. This is the reaction to the critical race theory. Just think about the reaction of what we're getting. Critical race theory is not being taught in any school K through 12, nowhere. But look at the reaction we're getting from it.
To actually know that your grandmother was racist, or probably said some racist shit to my grandmother. We know that. We're trying to get deeper into these things. Y'all just don't want your family secrets out there, because we already know that you guys are sitting on documents where people were, slaves. You got books of our families, languages that we have lost. You have them in your attic. Your papa do. He does. You don't want to fucking talk about that.
Yeah, and it's because I was talking to Nick about this, and because it speaks to white, is it word fragility? Is that how you say it? White. It speaks to white comfort. It speaks to that, and this is the reason. Every generation of white people and every generation of everybody goes through the same thing, where white people kind of rediscover that, wow, this is what really happened, is because it's shielding. It's trying to avoid teaching white American kids or the next generation what they did to get to the place they're at. It's an avoidance of that. Just think about that. You have to say, hey, son, the reason we're a superpower is because we came here, stole this land, killed all the people here. Then we went to another country, bought all these people here, had them do all the work, and then we just sitting back on the money. There you go. Go America. This is why we can't. You get what I'm saying? They don't want to have this conversation.
I mean, I'll take that a step further. In the comments, people are talking about like Maryland and Virginia, and like, somebody said Baltimore is not Chocolate City anymore. Like, technically it was DC that was supposed to be Chocolate City. But Maryland, I think, and Virginia too, I think are really segregated. Like there's a lot of like really rural places where, you know, people just really don't even come across each other, you know? So, but I think part of what, you know, what you were saying about like them not wanting to teach their kids stuff is they don't want to teach themselves stuff. If you go to DC right now, I lived in DC for 15 years. You go to DC right now, where I lived on 14th and N Street when I first moved there was the straight up hoe stroll. And now you go there and there is a Lazy Boy Furniture or some suburban shit like that. So yeah, exactly. So they really, I mean, they themselves don't want to have to think, forget about their kids. They themselves don't want to have to be bothered and think about who they displaced to get where they got to, you know, and what kind of thing. I mean, the amount of gentrification that has gone on at this point is seeping into people's brains because they're acting like they don't even want to address the fact that there used to be Black people here. They're just like, I live here now. This is great. We have bike lanes.
Gentrification is just think about that. Gentrification is as American as apple pie. Like that's one of the most American things. The United States was gentrified. The entire country was gentrified, right? That's what's going on. And just think about it. We're still gentrifying things, but think about it that we are still experiencing what the people who came to this country are still doing the same things. They're still enslaving people, 13th Amendment, right? So it's just shocking to me.
They make us slaves. They make us slaves. Slaves.
That's what I'm getting. Yeah, I didn't want to go on and on, but you get the point that I'm saying. It's like it's so many things that they don't want to have to address
because they know their life gonna have to change.
Right.
If we talk about it, then we got to do something about it. We do something about it.
Right.
Your life is gonna have to change because my life has to get better.
Right.
You're not working. That means your dad or your uncle, whoever owned this company that I didn't even know who owned it, he's gonna have to pay me more. That's gonna stop your vacations and shit like that, right?
I mean, they could give us reparations right now, and so many white people would still be rich, and they still won't do it. Like, doesn't that answer the question? They could just give us enough money to get out of debt or to own the house we have or whatever. Right. You know what? Like, we still wouldn't have the amount of generational wealth.
Yeah, they're not taking it right out of your pockets. I mean,
let me give you my take on reparations. Because I believe reparations should not just only be money. I believe reparations should include therapy. Every Black person should have free therapy for the rest of their lives. I believe that's what I believe. I believe reparations should also be monetary and also land. Yeah. Like how many Black people? There's like 30 some odd million Black people. Give us 30 some odd million homes. Thank you very much. With our reparations, with our therapy, now go ahead and leave us alone. Like they can't do that because if Black people get right, who's gonna have all these low-paying jobs? Yeah. Who's gonna be all the people in prisons doing all the slave labor? Who are we gonna do if we fix the Black community? That's essentially what the United States is saying. If we fix the Black community, then what are we gonna do with all these judges, all these lawyers, all these police we need to employ? You guys are creating jobs. We are job creators.
It's not only that, it's that capitalism needs slavery, and they won't admit that either. Yeah. They won't admit that this system is so flawed that it needs slavery to be profitable. Plus, they're so greedy on their own end, and they won't admit that. You know what I mean? And so they just say it's a meritocracy, and so they set up the system to benefit themselves.
So see, sis, that's why I always say, I would love to have reparations. I would love to be the front fighter for it. In a socialist country that did us wrong before. We have to fight fascism in order to get somewhere. We have to fight fascists. We need some type of ground to even get something like that because of the people that's negotiating for us right now is going to go to the negotiation table with half of what we actually need.
Right.
They do it all the time because if it's not us actually up there with the talking for ourselves, then it's going to get co-opted every time. So
because the Black bourgeoisie, too many times the Black bourgeoisie is the ones who the show people, the token person at the table, and that Black bourgeoisie is just going to fulfill all the capitalist needs. Yes. So
that's why I push for revolution more than anything because I know it's gonna take for us to get what we need. You know, we only can tell them so many times, you know what I'm saying, until we have to do it ourselves. And you know, reparations will put a lot of black people into good spaces. But if you look, I think a lot of people look at reparations like that look into reparations are still really into a certain size of politics, you know. But once you start, you know, getting into just freedom fighter type shit, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's somebody gotta go in order for this shit to happen.
So you
That's
you
true.
talking about
the other day,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
go
I
ahead,
was
Courtney.
thinking that the other day, if it's gonna be for real, like we're gonna have to sacrifice our bodies, our life, like it's gonna have to be that real.
Yeah.
And
they're not gonna give it up.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm gonna find before we sign off today off of this episode, I'm gonna find it's a Malcolm X clip where he kind of talks about that explicitly. That what we just actually, is this it right here? Oh no, this is not. But yeah, I'll look for it and I'll put it up if I can find. Actually, let me just look for it now since I'm in the videos. It's a Malcolm X clip. Oh, here actually this kind of goes to the topic. So let me play this one. I do have a couple of clips I do want to play. This one here is Muhammad Ali. Now what was good about Muhammad Ali was he was an activist, but he used humor to get his point across, which I think was brilliant in the way that he did. He used humor to get his points across. So I'm gonna play this video. It goes, oops, I thought I muted it.
And you need some black culture.
It goes to the black, or he says the black man has been brainwashed and it's time for him to learn something about himself. And the clip is he like I said, he does it in a funny way. But the point is there. So let's hear it and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
The black man has been brainwashed and it's time for him to learn something about himself. When you look at television, you see White House cigars, White Swan soap, King White soap, White Rain hair rinse, White Tornado floor wax, White Plus toothpaste. They taught him when he was a little boy that Mary had a little and his feet is white as snow. Then they taught him about Snow White. Then there's the White House. When you look at television, you see these two cars, one black, one white, and they put a gallon of gas in each one to see which car can go the farthest. And every time the black car stops first and the white car keeps going. So this brainwashes the Negro, see? Then he goes to the drugstore. He orders 2 dips ice cream. He said, I want a dip of chocolate, dip of vanilla. And every time they put the chocolate on the bottom and the vanilla. When the so-called Negro, the way the educational system has been outlined, he's been brainwashed. He needs to learn something about black. So when he goes to the grocery store, he goes get cake. He sees the angel food cake is the white cake, and the devil food cake is the chocolate cake. Everything bad is black. So he's been brainwashed. So now he needs to be taught something about himself, so he can be proud and quit worrying you and pushing you out of your neighborhoods, quit running your daughter, and quit chasing you out of your schools. And every day you got a headache with this Negro that has been brainwashed by your kind. So now it's our job to re-brainwash him, to teach him that rich dirt is black dirt. Don't feel bad. Strong coffee is black coffee. You understand? You make your wheat be integrated. So now he feels proud. Now he's not begging no more. Now he wants to be himself. He's not worrying you no more. So he needs some black history and he needs some black culture so he'll know who he is and be proud to be who he is and quit worrying you so much.
So I like that clip.
I keep telling these people this, like, holy fuck, if you don't just let us organize our people, they're going to be everywhere and we're not going to be able to, you know, really get control of them. Now nobody knows who's the true enemy. And you got people going after whites, rich, blacks, this and that. Oh, holy fuck. Yeah, like you setting your kids up. Y'all niggas ain't gonna be here when shit go down anyway. You setting your kids up, so whatever. I know my son will beat your son ass though, so I ain't too worried.
So about the video, so The Muhammad Ali, I think the point in tying it into the topic is that media is demonizing, brainwashing, in other words, brainwashing. And the brainwashing affects everybody and affects ourselves. We internalize it, right? And that's what Muhammad Ali is speaking to. Black men or black people internalizing the same propaganda that white people is receiving, and thinking that this is the reality of black people and black men in particular. So I like that clip because he speaks to it. I'll look for the other clip. But what do you had you seen this clip, Keisha, already online or on Twitter?
I think I've seen part of it. I don't know if I've seen all of it, but I mean, I love how he is like reverse psychologing them into being like, just give us money, we'll do our own stuff. We don't need to be integrated with you. That's cool, I mean, it's really, I love looking back at this kind of stuff because it's just so interesting how many different methods they tried. Like everybody had their own, Malcolm X was over here doing this, and MLK was doing what he was doing, and then they had Muhammad Ali attempting to do stuff. Like, I mean, he did a lot for being just for being a boxer or whatever, just a boxer. He did a lot.
Everybody has a lane, and I think the left needs to learn that. Like, we think that all of us are going to team up and we're all going to go, no, I'm going to use the military only because it's something we understand. But I look at it as the Navy, as the Air Force. We're fighting the same fight. But some of us are going to be on the Navy because they have a different tactic. They don't want to swoop in. Some of us are going to be Army on the ground, like me and Rome, and we come and attacking in your house, like knocking out the windows. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody is going to be different, and we just have to understand we're going to the same goal, but everybody's going to be different. But I did find the Malcolm X a video, so is this it right here? Oh yeah, let me it's just the first part, not the second part here. This clip actually has a couple of different parts. This first part, Rome, speaks to what you were saying. And this is the quote: "Anytime you beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourself." So whether you're taking freedom that somebody is trying to prevent it from you, or in another capacity that he's speaking about. So let's listen to this first, maybe 30 seconds of Malcolm X right here.
Leaders have fought for civil rights. What do you mean? They have begged for civil rights. They have begged the white man for civil rights. They have begged the white man for freedom. And anytime you beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourselves. And until the American Negro lets the white man know that we are really, really ready and willing to pay the price that is necessary for freedom, our people will always be walking around here second-class citizens, or what you call 20th century slaves. What price are you talking about, sir? The price of freedom is death. By Newsweek.
My nigga, it's true. It's true. And you know what? This world, this life that you're living, as we grow as humans, we can see that this life isn't even about you. This life, what we do, it isn't about you. It's about what we live on, what we leave.
Right. For the future generations, yeah.
The future generations. And if we are talking about Black liberation, no, that's why a lot of Black people get mad at me because I'm not too loud about reparations, because that's not my fight. My fight is revolution overall, because I know that to pay the price of revolution is just like Jill Scott Heron said, who's gonna pay reparations to my soul? Because I know I'm gonna be dead before they even have that type of conversation.
Wow.
So if we actually want liberation, and we actually want land, government control, because that's what a lot of reparations is also. And we talking about, look, we get land, we get control land, we get control of we can get our governments, we get our own towns, become our own mayors, and et cetera, et cetera. That's gonna put us on some type of negotiation table. They don't want Black people to do that type of shit. Come on now, like, let's get real. But
yeah, thank you for the super chat.
You got a definition. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Rome, about cutting you off. The super chat, it says Ali wasn't just a boxer; he was an inspiration to anyone against that war. I deeply respect the man's courage. So thank you for the super chat. But to Rome's point, why I wanted to play that Malcolm X clip, because I thought of that clip when Rome was speaking, and when with I believe it was Courtney, was it kind of mentioned too, like the price of freedom is death, like, and I think that could be the reason why the civil rights fight kind of fizzled with the Malcolm X. I'm not sorry, not with Malcolm, with the MLK. Go ahead.
You mean because people saw that it got real because they actually killed people?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They saw and it was like,
it's
okay,
like one of those things,
like,
you have to know that, like, you're not. I mean, yeah, you're not, like Roman's saying, you're not always fighting for you. I mean, like when we were working with our labor union, I had to keep telling people, like, you might not ever go back to this job. This is not about you. This is about the person coming behind you and them taking care. You know, like everything doesn't have to be about you, man. It's.
I also think when we killed JFK, that also. That's true. Killing JFK, I think he would have been more on the side of civil rights, and I think that was another thing where we were like, oh, this shit is. They're killing our president. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, absolutely. And so to your point, Keisha, yeah, maybe people saw, oh, they just took out Malcolm X, they just took out MLK. Like,
I mean, I wish it would have gone the other way and people would have rioted.
Yeah, I mean, they rioted for a moment, but it really put fear into the movement. But I feel like we have to move back to this way of fighting, and this is another reason why. This is a reason why why Black people haven't gained, full freedom, is because we no longer see it as freedom as being something we're willing to die for. Yeah, we don't see it that way because we can order from Amazon now.
Yes, people are too comfortable.
They can, yeah, exactly. And just because, I forget the phrasing, but I'll try to paraphrase. Just because white supremacy now allows you to participate in capitalism doesn't mean you're free. Are you free? Are free range chickens free? If you're able to roam inside the range of the United States, does that make you free? So I'm just saying, like, freedom is more than just a physical thing. As we can see, freedom is more than that. We are coming to the end of the show, or towards the end of the show. Did anybody see any good comments I can put up that you want to comment on? Courtney, Keisha, any last comments on any of the topics, any of the parts we talked about today?
Covered it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we're working on a video talking about the Joe Rogan situation. So that'll be kind of interesting. That ties in a little bit to what we're talking about today, but
yeah.
Did something new happen besides after his video, or is that the latest kind of news?
No, we just happened to see, our parents watch CNN all day long, so we just happened to see the way that CNN covered it, and it's very interesting.
Yeah.
My mom has MSNBC on literally all day, and when I go over there, she's telling me about Trump stuff, and I'm like, Mom, I told you this is propaganda. Stop watching that. She's like, no.
It is strong.
But the thing is, people who watch that, they'll say, okay, they think there's just sections of it that's propaganda. That's what they think. Like, okay, the propaganda stuff, I just let that go. Like, that's what they think they're doing. It's like, no, every single syllable from beginning of the show to the end, that's propaganda. Yeah. So if you're watching any of, like, they really believe that they can catch propaganda. Thank you for this super chat. Feminist News Network need a new Black Wall Street reimagined. I'm assuming they're meaning the Black Wall Street in I think it was it Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Yeah. FBI and CIA work for capitalism. They are capitalism, actually, I think. Absolutely. Yeah. Just going to go through a couple of comments here as I move to Liv. Any last comments? Anything about today's episode that kind of stands out to you? Anything you want to say? This is your last time speaking, but any last comments on any of the topics here?
No, I love having these conversations with y'all and just listening. I learned so much from all y'all, so thank you so much for sharing. I really, really appreciate it. Other things. Wait, is this the last time? Should I say what I have coming up? Are we done?
No. I'm gonna go around for that. This is just last comments on any of the topics, if you have any.
We need more of these conversations. We need more of these honest conversations about everything. And even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's still a conversation worth having. Yeah, white people, just shut up and listen. And if you're going to talk, ask questions.
That is a great advice. And that's why that's why I like having Liv in these conversations, because one, she loves listening and learning. And
She my
two,
token white girl. No,
and two, we have to show people how to be. We have to show white people how to be a good white ally, and I think Liv is learning to do that, and is doing that, and learning to do that, and learning to be better. So I think having her here as an example is great. So thank you, Liv. And Rome, any last comments? I know you got heated on a bunch of different things.
Yeah, man, I get heated on
you
these conversations.
Courtney a little bit. I saw Courtney.
These bitch ass niggas, man, they be getting at me, you know, sometimes, because these are conversations that we should be taking serious, and people just all joking around while the world is ending. But you know, I just wanted to say this. You know, I'm gonna say this about, you know, everything. You know, what's owed to Black people and what we should have and what we should be. Yes, you're right. These things are old. They should be given. But how do you talk to a country whose only language is violence? How could you negotiate? How, like, what are you gonna do? What type of power are we really bringing to the table besides saying that, okay, well, we're just not gonna vote for you? Politicians don't control anything. It's the corporations. The lobbyists is the ones who's doing all the work in between them people, and there's levels to this shit. What power are you really going to bring to say we want reparations or else besides a revolution? So think about it. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. So now I'll go around and kind of get where you're going to be appearing next, what you got going on next. But first, let me give you my last kind of comments on everything. Whoopi Goldberg is a moron. Her actual name is Karen, by the way. But Whoopi Goldberg is a moron. But I think it's funny that her name is Karen. That's why I wanted to throw that in there. California Democrats abandoning Medicare for all is a good thing for the leftist community, so we can radicalize more liberals to understand that the Democratic Party is just as terrible. And then for the main topic, this was just the beginning conversation of why the media demonizes the black men, but I think we all kind of know it's profitable to keep Black men in the prison pipeline, or send them off to war and let them be a casualty body for whatever, you know, war we're in at the time. So you know, it's something we have to fight. It's something we got to keep having these conversations. We have to you know, keep having, you know, white allies who are open to understanding and listening, being open and understanding and listening. All of this, you know, is what it's going to take. But I don't think anything's going to change. I think Rome kind of said this, everything to me is tied to the revolution. All ills, you know, equality for trans people, ending qualified immunity, $35 minimum wage, you know, investing $20 trillion into the planet. All of that comes from revolution. Unless we think we're gonna, you know, go at each item piecemeal. Like there's so much that needs to be done. We can't go piecemeal. The planet's not going to be here long enough to do that. Like we're literally not going to be here long enough to do that if we just go, well, let's handle, let's get to $25 minimum wage. That takes 40 years to do. Let's end qualified immunity. That takes another 20 years. Like we don't have 60 years. So that's why I say, to me, because of all the issues that are going on, revolution is all that's going to kind of correct all these sort of things that's going on. So that's my take. I'll go around and see what's going on, what everybody has coming up next. Like, where are you appearing? When is your next show? If you have a show, when is your next event? Are you doing any activism coming up? Your mutual aid shout out. I will start with Courtney and Keisha. Individually, you can answer. When do you have coming up? Are either of you appearing on anyone's shows? Are you going to be in the panels? When are you doing your show? When is your episodes and all that kind of stuff?
I think the next time we'll be on a panel will be at the end of the month with the Sabby's women
Absolutely.
panel, an ethnicity panel. We're just going to be working on a lot of videos that we have coming up.
What else? Yeah.
Please subscribe to our channel. That would be great.
Yeah, if you watch, subscription is free.
So what do they search? They just search Bank Sisters. That's pretty much it, or is it?
Yeah, it's just Bank Sisters.
Yeah, just Bank Sisters, and we have a lot of stuff. We do like reaction videos, and we just like to smoke weed and talk about
politics,
what's going on, and chill. So we definitely would appreciate it if you help us get our watch hours up and subscribe, and then just talking shit on the internet. I'm Courtney, just in case it's confusing. So I'm on Twitter at Courtney Banks.
I'm hardly ever on Twitter, but I'm
she's the pure
one of these Keishas. No, I just am the old one, so I never really got into it, and so here I am. I don't know.
Yeah, it took me a while to get into Twitter. Like the account I have now, people say, "Oh, you had this account 10 years?" No, I opened it 10 years ago, and I didn't use it for 9.5 years, and then I came back. When they closed my other account, they suspended my first account. Then I came in and said, "Oh, I got this old account. Let me open it." But anyway, that's a long story. So thank you for that. And, you never know. Maybe you'll appear on another, show on here, another episode of this if you're available. So,
sure. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Oh, do you have any mutual aid shout outs? Any mutual aid that you know of that you'd like to shout out?
Nothing that we've got going on. Right.
We're going to do some local stuff with, every time we get our periods, we think, oh, we should be donating women's products. So we're going to do that tomorrow.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah. It takes that to happen for you to remember.
And then we're going to create blood too, because there's a huge blood shortage. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah, if you can do
I've heard about that. Yeah. I've heard about that. And Liv, what do you have coming up? When is your show airing? Any guests you got going on? What's going on with your mutual aid? All of that. What do you got going on?
Oh my God. Okay, so I'll be here always on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. with you, CJ. I'll be talking to Rome soon about mutual aid coming up. Expanding tour for the poor on the East Coast. My sex work on Fansly is also my Twitter handle at Liv Romano. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Liv Romano. I'm gonna probably be there more on now that I have a living situation worked out. So I'm gonna be trying to be on there more. Love being here with all. Thank you all for being here and letting me be a part of this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think I got that super chat. I was trying to see if I missed a super chat, but I don't think I did. Mutual aid. What's your mutual aid? Do you have a mutual aid? Or you just have your let me take this banner off so they can see your Twitter name there. Yeah. There you go. So that's your Twitter and also your Twitter. Cash. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
It's
so
my
there you
Venmo
go. And
my Fansly.
You don't do that fast.
Absolutely. Venmo, Fansly, also, and then you can see or you can see the Bank Sister, you don't see their Twitter, but then you already know Unholy Rome. So Rome, what do you have coming up? Do you got an episode of Rome Rebellion coming up? You're doing any street preaching next week or so?
I'm gonna do an episode on how to fix a nigga alternator. You know, I think that's gonna be very important in the revolution.
Fix ours.
Cause that sound right there, that's not your belt, man. That's your I got the shit going on with you in California on the 17th, 18th. I'll be out there in California. I'm spending a tour for the port with a couple of people who live, as you know, and there's a couple more people on the ground that I'm gonna start introducing to you guys more, like my friend CT. I knew him for 20-something years. But I'm also starting a communist party. It's called the Care Party. I don't even know if I should say the name of this motherfucker. Well, it's just Communists Accelerating Revolution and Emancipation. So we're trying to get that on the road in the next few months. Writing up my Bill of Rights and my manifesto. Should have that up. And I think that's about it. I'm heading Orlando, Florida, and all that shit. But y'all can follow me on Twitter for all that other crap. We ain't got that time.
Yeah, and you just hit 10,000 followers. Is what it's called on Twitter. Yeah, followers. Yeah. So that's cool. That's cool. I saw that shout out before we got on. So later today, actually in a couple of hours, less than 2 hours, I'm gonna be on starting a special series with a new podcast show called Free Black America. My first guest starting this series is Dr. Kareem. He's like a cultural psychologist. And then another professor, I forget what college he's a professor at, but Dr. Michael, I forget his last name, but Dr. Michael will be on also. And then Professor Zunkas, a lot of you already know Professor Zunkas. So we're talking about the traumatic effects of the political system. Let me just get the actual name here. It's going to be a very interesting discussion from the point of view of academia. So that's what, to me, what's going to be different about this discussion. So this is the traumatic effects of America and the American political system on the Black community, the role of the state and political sphere in the enactment of racial oppression. And all three of the doctors or professors we have on specialize in this area. This new doctor, Dr. Michael, he talks on his Twitter page, in his bio, he calls it racial politics. That's what he specializes in, racial politics. So make sure you watch that 4 p.m. PST, or if you're on the East Coast, 7 p.m. that starts. So it's a unique time because Dr. Kareem is in China, so we have to pick a different time. So look for that later today in a couple hours, less than 2 hours. I'll be back on with them. And then tomorrow we have the roundtable. Friday we have Sabby show. Saturday we're back with Nick. Sunday JB show, and then Monday back here with the Nick and CJ show. So that is the next upcoming content. Thank you for everybody watching. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Rome, for joining us today for this conversation. I'm sure we'll revisit this topic to go a little more in detail about it. Thank you for everybody. Rockfan, thank you for those watching on Twitter and Facebook. And thank you for those that donated super chats. And I think we're going to be signing off. So see you next Wednesday, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern.